morning, Franco here with Trading Futures Live. Welcome back to another pre-market analysis live stream where I will check on the news reports, check on the charts, and see what we can expect for the live trading session. So with that, let's jump right into the charts. This is our schedule for today. Economic news, we had non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, and those are very impactful news on the market. As a matter of fact, the market is going up a little bit, but we will see what we can expect after the dollar move later today after the unemployment came out. All right, so we will review the US dollar index, the yen index, bond yields, the VIX, crude oil and metals. That's very, very important to check on crude oil, though. It's being very, very influential in the markets. And the ES&Q and RTY, we reviewed the demand where we marked off together in the live stream yesterday for the NQ, and Apple demand. We had Apple demand coinciding with the NQ. That's a very high probabilistic way of treat these assets. When both or three or four are in demand at the same time, they're likely to work in a better fashion, right? All right, so let's kick off the session with the economic news report. We just had NFP release, the unemployment claims, the non-farm payrolls. It came a little bit better than expected, towards the low end. If you check historically, it is a little bit lower, but nevertheless above the forecast that we had of 300,000. The unemployment rate went up 0.2% from 3.5% to 3.7%. And when we do have good economic reports release, meaning if the economy is running hot and good, that is not very good for the market nowadays, because the Fed feels that they have more room to act, to raise rates, etc. So I do think good news is not a good news right now. So we will see how we react. We will lean on the other assets to trade, regardless, we trade a very short term trade, but we want to see the big picture, right? We want to see where NQ or ES are in long time frame demand, so we don't short close to it. And that was my argument yesterday. I did have some shorts, but later on we were hitting demand. So for me to short there was very, very dangerous. So I chose to step aside and just not to short anymore. All right, so later today at 10 we have durable goods from factory orders month over month. Is not as impactful like unemployment, but is an orange folder, so we will pay attention to that report coming out at 10 as well. Okay, all right, let's jump right into the markets. Let's go to the dollar and let's get rid of these drawings, because I want you to see the overall picture on the dollar. The dollar is very bullish for the entire year. The dollar has been going up since January 2022, right? We have had a nice run up, and we look to the left. We have some supply from 2002, but we got to a point where the supply efficiency got exhausted. We have spent so much time, so many days inside the supply that it makes me believe that it might not work anymore, and we have to go to another level around probably 113 and so on. And So we're in a very bullish pattern right here on the daily. We haven't broken to the upside, but we are in a slowly grind. And I've said slowly grinds are very steady and continuous grinds. I do like when the assets move slowly towards one direction. It gives me more assurance, right? All right, let's go down to the 30-minute. And on the 30-minute, we have a very interesting picture. Yesterday in the morning, we had this breakout around 8 in the morning after the US dollar market opened, right? And I said, this movement to the upside being so sharp, I don't like it because there's no a lot of volume right here, meaning this was vacuumed into this level, but it hit a supply zone, meaning some sellers stepped into the market, and when that happens, there's not much support in this movement, right? So, but nevertheless, the movement started right here, 109.35, but I do have this entire demand area created at London Open at 3 a.m., right? And breaking out all these three pivots. So this is a classic break and retest, and it's happening right now after the report of NFP came. So it's yet to see if we are going to break this pivot right here. If we happen to continue to the upside, then we can expect some downside on the equity markets. And we have some supply created, I think Wednesday. We have some supplies from Wednesday. So I want to pay attention to those supplies, right? Now, it's very important that we hit a very, very solid demand level on the equity market. So we want to pay attention to the momentum, where the momentum is going today. We don't want to just short or long happily in any level. I want to pay attention what the internals are saying, right? For me, it's very likely that the dollar will continue to go up, but it could come back down and probably chop for an hour or two, and then spike back up. That's a very likely scenario, right? This candle closes in 5 minutes, so let's see how this candle closes. I want a solid buying candle. I don't want a neutral buying, because a neutral buying creates some neutral bias in traders, right? All right, that's regarding the dollar. I think it's the most important chart to watch today. After the dollar, I always like to see the yen chart, very choppy, but close to the, let's get rid of this drawing so we can see the daily chart more easily. All right, the yen is towards the low of this consolidation area. So the yen is being very choppy. Like I'm not relying very much on the yen lately. But nevertheless, it's one of the assets that I use to mark my context for the day. And today is very weak. All right, let's go to the bond yields. All right, bond yields are neutral, and in a very, very important level right here. I said after this week, after this week is violated, I think we could have more upside in the oh there you go. Yeah, I eliminated all the drawings, right? There you go. After this wick is violated around here, we don't have much for the bond yields. So the 350 is a reality. If 350 gets hit again, the markets will suffer because the market don't like high rates. And is looking today a setup to a breakout here. Let's see what happens when the market opens. But for me, the most likely scenario is just coming back up, retracing to this upside, because here you will have some traders trading that to the short side and then a continuation to the upside, right? So that's my most likely scenario. If we happen to come back down, I would see if rates come back down. That's not a scenario that's going to play out today, but later. I would say this is a very interesting area to keep going long on the bond yields. All right, one interesting chart that I want to pay attention to today is the VIX. This is a very, very interesting chart that I want to pay attention to, because like I've said days before, like let me get rid of these drawings, right? This is a daily chart. This year comes down, creates a pivot, comes down, explodes, comes down, creates a pivot, comes down, explode, comes down, create a pivot, comes down and explodes, comes down, create a pivot, comes down and explode. Now, is the come down and the explosion is several days. I would say in average from the 6th to the 20th is 15 days. From the 1st to the 9th is 1 week. 5th to the 13th is 1.5 weeks. So we will have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Today is 1 week. Now I do think I was accounting for the drop, the pivot, the come down, and the explosion. The explosion hasn't happened yet, and it created a downward edge wedge right here. And if this wedge gets violated, meaning this line right here comes to the upside, then we will have 29 on the VIX. For now, the market is absorbing the report as a positive news, meaning it went up from, at least the NQ was 12,238. Now we're at 12,360. So like 110 points. It was like a 1% movement. But like I've said, we do have supply. We will visit those later in this video. All right, after the VIX, let's go over crude oil. It's a quick stop on crude oil. I don't want to like spend too much time on this, but it's important, crude oil, because crude oil is being very influential on the market. I said this pivot is gonna try to be held by buyers, and in fact, yesterday we came close to the pivot, but we didn't violate it, and then we are shooting back up. Market is just opening. It is in a very, very important point right here. It hasn't violated yesterday's high, and let's see if we have some high quality supplies right here. I would say, what time was this? 2 in the afternoon. This is the close, so I don't like this too much. I would say, all right, this pivot already is not putting some pressure on the market. It was here, but not anymore. So this pivot can work as a support right now. But I do have this one. I do have this pivot. What time was this? 11:30. It was US. So I would say here 91. That's merely that's $3 above, $2 above. Crude oil is already up probably. How much is up today? It's almost 3%. But this point is very important, so we have to violate that point first before we say, all right, we're gonna continue going up. All right, so crude oil strong today. Silver and gold. Let's see how silver and gold are doing today. They're going up, but in a very bearish pattern, right? Both are in a bearish trend on the daily, and there's no question why. The dollar is going down. This thing is bouncing a little bit. It's logical, right? It's coherent. All right, let's go to the real meat of this video, which is the equity markets. And I want to see the big picture on the ES first. All right, let me get rid of this. All right, this is the daily chart on the ES. You can make this stuff up. One pivot, two pivots, retest, and the second retest, right? If we happen to come down here, these pivots are gonna get exhausted unless there is a big institution buying at these levels. But if these pivots get retested, I don't think it's a good thing for the market. It's usually will not work again. Anything can happen, but that's the probabilities of the trades. All right, so let's go down to the 30-minute chart, and let's put the drawings here because it's very important. I do have this pivot here. It was tested once, so we could use it again up to 40.30. So 40.30 is my bull case, meaning if the ES gets to the 40.30 level, we could expect something like this, right? And then continuation pattern, right? These levels are gonna put some pressure on the market around 40.73, but I don't think it's very likely that this will come into play today. If we get very bullish today, we might get to 40.70, but the most likely scenario is that we stall at this level. Let's see how the internals are signaling today after market open. For now, I do think this this consolidation area is very, very important on the overnight, and we had the breakout to the upside. It's not uncommon, this thing. The retest here, especially if the dollar gets more bullish. If the dollar gets more bullish, we will have this retest. And if the dollar, but I already said, if the dollar has some supply, then we can do this, right? Or even if we come here. But if the dollar is in demand, when this thing comes back down to this consolidation area, we could expect more downside, right? So those are my two likely scenarios for the day with the ES. All right, let's go to the NQ. This is the one that I trade. We had this demand yesterday, high quality demand. It coincides with a lot of let's go to the 4-hour. We had this pivot, 1, 2, 3 pivots, and then the high quality area within this consolidation was this. We had this yesterday for those who were with me on the pre-market, and on the live stream we did have that area. Now we have 462 to 580. So these are higher time frame 4 hour, 3 hour zones where we want to pay attention to. Now, for myself, for the trading that I do, I like to go to the 30-minute or less, right? So on the 30-minute, I have Wednesday. This is the 30th, right? So 30th was Wednesday, I guess. Tuesday. On Tuesday, we did have this strong move down, and when the market started to come down, I would say this area is a very important area to short from. So I wouldn't rush into it. I will have to wait for the internals to tell me, all right, it's a good time to short or no, and so on. If we have the same scenario, right, we come here, we cannot have a target beyond this consolidation, right? And we want to pay attention when we get here where the dollar is at. If the dollar is at demand, meaning the dollar is dropping, we could expect some downside. If the dollar just keeps dropping without hitting any high time frame demand, so we can expect this thing to be violated and go to the next level. Is it very likely for us to hit 1270, 12,744? It's not very likely today. And I will tell you the ATR extension line for us on the NQ is 532. So the higher probability is 532 around here. All right, so that's for the NQ. Let's go to the Russell. Same thing, exactly the same thing. Now the Russell is the one is more bullish, right? The Russell didn't even touch this barely here. He came so close. So for me, if I want to be a long-term positioning trader, I will be in the Russell, because the Russell is the one that it has more strength. We didn't even touch this pivot, whereas in the ES, the NQ, all these pivots were violated. Not to the downside, but they had to get to the last resource of the demand right here, right? The Russell is still very bullish within the overall market. So let's see how it goes today. As a matter of fact, the Russell is going up. Well, all of them are going up 0.9% or something, right? I start to sense a bullish momentum, so we don't want to get too fast here. We want to see what the market does. Today it'll be a lot of more volatility because of the NFP reports, and I probably will go down in size and widen my zones so I can trade more relaxed in terms of price action. All right. With that being said, let's go to the Apple, because Apple, we had this demand. We did it yesterday on the live stream. You can go back and review that area. I marked it up yesterday. We barely tapped it and we bounced off of there, right? Now, how is Apple is gonna open up again in this supply, right? I want to pay attention to this because this is key, right? Pivot, first time test. This is the second test for this pivot, right? This pivot coincides with all these consolidation and the gap. So I do think this is a very strong gap, but Apple is going to open up in the same supply. I want to pay attention to this. If Apple just violates this high, I would say 60, 60, 160, 60. I could expect more upside, but if Apple just start to stall here and we start to see some weakness, that will translate into the market. Remember, Apple represents around like 12% of the S&P index. It's certainly the biggest company in the NYSE in terms of market cap, but not only that, on the indexes, it has a lot of weight, right? So with that, I think I'm gonna close this market live, pre-market live analysis. I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. If you like what I do here, please like, subscribe, and share to see if we can grow this channel and help more people. Later.